plateau. It's flattening. It's the flattening of the curve. The increases slow down. It flattens out for a period of time. Nobody knows how long because nobody's been here before. But if you look at the number of total admissions, 18,000, 18,000, 18,000, 18,000, that's definitely a flattening. That is good news. Still going up a little bit, by the way. Go back a second. Still going up a little bit, but a basic flattening as opposed to increasing gaps. The total number of hospitalizations, net, down, a little bit up, a little bit down, but overall just follow the line. Don't get caught up in the day-to-day. As we say, the 3-day rolling average, which is more accurate than any one day, is down again. The net change in ICU admissions is down. Again, I discount this ICU admissions because the old demarcation of an ICU bed in a hospital and a regular bed in a hospital is gone. Almost every bed is basically an ICU bed. Net change in ICU admissions is also down. Intubations is real. Intubations is the worst signal. People who are intubated wind up on a ventilator most often do not come off the ventilator, somewhere 70%, 80%, depending on who you talk to. So this is a scary number. When that's down, it's good, and that is down. The 3-day rolling average is down, so that's good news. We were worried about the spread from New York City to suburbs upstate, and we have been very aggressive. When we get a little cluster, a spot that's acting up, we jump on it. This is like watching a fire going through dry grass with a strong wind, and it's blowing the fire, and a couple of embers wind up on one side of the field, and the embers start to catch fire, and that's a cluster, and you have to run over to those embers and stamp them out right away before they grow. But you see the stabilization there, and that has been good too. This is a new take on it. We talk about net hospitalizations. This is the number of new COVID hospitalizations to date. This is how many new COVID diagnoses or people walking into the hospital had COVID. So you see still about 2,000 people per day are walking in or being diagnosed with COVID. So you're still increasing the hospital population initially by 2,000 people who are testing positive for COVID, but on the other side of the healthcare system, people are being discharged on the other end. So the net is what we talk about because we've always been worried about lack of capacity in the hospital system where you pour the water into the glass and the glass overfills, where the hospital system just can't handle the number of people coming in. And that's why we've been studying the net. But this says, take a deep breath. You still have 2,000 people per day who are coming into the hospital system. And the terrible news is as terrible as it gets, and the worst news I've had to deliver to the people of this state as governor of New York, and the worst news I've had to live with on a personal level. Number of deaths is 671, not as bad as it has been in the past, but basically flat, and basically flat at a horrific level of pain and grief and sorrow. This is 671 people who passed away on Easter Sunday. For me, I'm Catholic. Easter Sunday is the high holy day in many ways, and one of the high holy days. And to have this happen over this weekend is really, really especially tragic. And they are all in our thoughts and prayers. That raises the death total to 10,056. Again, for perspective, 10,000, 2,700 lives were lost in 9/11, and 9/11 changed every New Yorker who was in a position to appreciate on that day what happened. And the number of lives lost was horrific after 9/11, and the grief was horrific. And we are at 10,000 deaths. New York, 10,000 deaths. New Jersey, 2,000 deaths. Massachusetts, 756, and then you have the state of Michigan. Why New York? Why are we seeing this level of infection? Well, why cities across the country? It's very simple. It's about density. It's about the number of people in a small geographic location allowing that virus to spread, and that virus is very good at what it does. It is a killer. It is very good at spreading. It is very contagious, and the dense environments are its feeding grounds. We learned that lesson very early on. Remember, we had one of the first hot spots in the nation. One of the most intense clusters was New Rochelle, New York. New Rochelle is in Westchester County. It's not in New York City. Why New Rochelle? And that's what I was so concerned about early on. We didn't know what we were looking at. Why New Rochelle? Because in New Rochelle, one person or two people who were infected were in dense gatherings with hundreds of people, and it spread like wildfire. So it's not just a dense city or a dense community. It's any person in a dense environment. You can be in a very rural county. You know, people think New York, oh, it's all New York City. No, no, we have counties that have more cows than people by population. You can be anywhere, but if you have a person who's infected in a room of 200 people, 300 people, 400 people, now you have a problem. This goes back to the Spanish flu, where some cities canceled parades, other cities didn't cancel parades. We went through these numbers when we had the decision on the St. Patrick's Day parade, which Bernadette still will not forgive me for. But you can have a parade in a relatively small city, but you bring people together, and this virus has a feeding frenzy. Where do we go from here? Question of reopening, which everyone wants to do, and everybody wants to do yesterday. I am at the top of that list. We have to understand on the reopening, as much as we have this emotion, we want it to happen, and we want it to happen now, and we can't take this anymore, and everyone feels the same, it is a delicate balance. Remember what we have to do on reopening. And remember, it has never been done before. None of this has been done before. So anyone who says to you, oh, I know what we should do, I know. Yeah, you don't know because nobody knows. And that's the one thing that we have learned over and over again. And this place has never done this before. Also, you look around the world, you see warning signs from countries who have opened. And my point is to our team, I want to learn from those other countries, frankly. And I want to make sure we know from our studying and assessment of what's going on in other countries that what worked, what didn't work, and let's learn from those lessons. And you can now go back and look at Wuhan province and look at Italy and look at South Korea and see what they did and see what worked and what didn't work. So let's learn. So we'll listen to the experts, we'll follow the data. But remember, this is a delicate balance. What are we doing on reopening? We are easing isolation. We want to increase economic activity. That will happen essentially through a recalibration of what are essential workers. Remember, we never turned off the economy, right? The economy is still functioning. You can get in your car, you can get gasoline, you can go to the grocery store, you can shop. You can get on a bus. The economy is functioning. We never turned it off. We turned it way, way down, and it's just the essential services that have been operating, but the essential services have all been operating. what you will be doing, in essence, on the reopening is recalibrating what is essential, right? You'll start to open that valve on the economic activity, and you'll turn that valve very slowly, reopening the economy, more essential workers. Do it carefully, do it slowly, and do it intelligently, more testing and more precautions at the same time that you're opening that valve. More testing so you have more information about who should be coming in, et cetera. More precautions because you know that works as you're calibrating and opening the valve. And while you're opening that valve, watch the meter. What's the meter? The meter is the infection rate. The meter is those daily hospitalization rates. And there is a cause and effect. You have density, you have more people infecting other people, you will see it within a matter of days in that hospitalization rate. So yes, open the valve slowly, advised by experts. Keep your eye on the meter. The meter is the infection rate. And watch that infection rate. And if you see that infection rate start ticking up, which would be undermining everything we have accomplished thus far, then you know you've opened the valve too fast. That is the delicate balance that we have to work through. And that is what has never been done before. And nobody can tell you today, I know how to do that, because it just hasn't happened. So what do? First, we come up with a reopening plan. I'm not interested in political opinions. I'm interested in what the experts say about this, to the best they can tell you. But you have public health experts. They can study South Korea. They can study China. They can study all the data that we have. You have economic experts that can help you decide what is the next notch of essential workers that can actually start the economy back up and have a consequential change. But that is a real plan, and that has to be developed, and that has to be smart. The wider the geographic area for that plan, the better, because this virus doesn't understand governmental boundaries. Well, I'm Westchester County, so you virus have to stop before entering here and follow my rules. No. The virus follows its own boundaries and its own guidelines, and it doesn't have any. The geographic area that is an economic area, a workforce area, a transportation area, that's the relevant area that we have to be looking at. You have to coordinate all these systems. You can't start one system without starting the other systems. You can't start the economic system without starting the transportation system. And if you can't run the transportation system, then you can't reopen the economy. It just doesn't happen. You have to coordinate the schools with the transportation, with the economic system. These systems work in coordination. They're big gears, and each gear intermeshes with the other gear. And you can't start one gear with the other gear stopped, right? That's the coordination. You're going to need federal support, and you're going to need smart legislation passed by the federal government that actually attends to the need, as opposed to normal political considerations. Testing is going to be key, and that's a new frontier for us also. This state is probably the most aggressive state in the nation in actually getting the testing up. We test more than any other state. We test more than other countries. We test more than the other states, leading states combined in testing. But that's still not enough, and we have to do more. And we know that the precautions work. The masks work, the gloves work, the temperature taking works. It's abnormal, it's different, but it works, and we have to do it. And while we're doing this, we have to remember to stay the course and not jeopardize what we have achieved. And we have achieved much. This afternoon, I'll be joined by other governors. We've been talking to other states, Connecticut, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Rhode Island, for the past couple of days about coming up with, how do we come up with a reopening plan? And can we work together on a reopening plan? And we'll be having an announcement this afternoon with other governors about just that, the reopening plan. And as I said, the optimum is to have as coordinated a regional plan as you can. I understand intergovernmental coordination can be somewhat of an oxymoron, but to the extent we can work with Connecticut and New Jersey and Rhode Island and Delaware and Pennsylvania, I want to. It is smarter for everyone, for people of their state and for the people of my state. And this is a time for smart, competent, effective government. Nothing else matters. I want to make sure that I can say to the people of this state, we did everything we could to the best of our ability. And the optimum is a geographically coordinated plan. I don't believe we could ever get to total coordination with the other states because all the states have a little different set of circumstances and facts. I don't even believe we should have a uniform plan without recognizing the state-by-state distinctions. But to the extent we can coordinate, we should and we will. Last point, and this is a personal point, when is it over? I have this conversation 100 times a day. I had it last night with my daughters. When is it over? And it's a difficult conversation because people want it to be over so badly, right? I want the fear to stop. I want the anxiety to stop. I don't want to have to worry about my brother anymore. I don't want to have to worry about my daughters. I don't want to have to worry about my mother. I want it over. I want to get out of the house. I want to get back to normalcy. I've been living on this weird, disorienting, frightening place. I'm afraid to touch people. This is it violates the human behavior and needs. When is it over? It's not going to be over like that. It's not going to be we flick a switch and everybody comes out of their house and gets in their car and waves and hugs each other and the economy all starts up. I would love to say that's going to happen. It's not going to happen that way. It can't happen that way. Can it happen in some communities across the country where, frankly, they have very low infection rates and they could come up with a testing regimen where if they find 1 or 2 cases, they quickly jump on those 1 or 2 and they isolate and they track? Yes. But is that going to happen here? No. Is that going to happen in any community that has a significant issue? No. There is going to be no epiphany. There is going to be no morning where the headline says, hallelujah, it's over. That's not going to happen. What will happen is there'll be points of resolution over time. What does that mean? There'll be points of resolution. There'll be points where we can say we've accomplished something, we should feel better, we should feel more calm, we should feel more relaxed, and it will be incremental. We're controlling the spread. We are controlling the spread. You look at those numbers, you know what it says? We're controlling the spread. I was afraid that it was going to infect my family no matter what I did. We're past that. If you isolate, if you take the precautions, your family won't get infected. We can control the spread. Feel good about that. Because, by the way, we could have gotten to a point where we said, we can't control this damn thing. We can't control it. It's in the air. It gets into your house. It doesn't matter. You close the door. It comes under the door. You could have gotten there. We're not there. Those numbers say we can control the spread. Feel good about that. The worst is over. Yeah, if we continue to be smart going forward, because remember, we have the hand on that valve. You turn that valve too fast, you'll see that number jump right back. But yes, I think you can say the worst is over, because the worst here are people dying. That's the worst. The worst doesn't get any bad than this worst. And this worst is people die. That's the worst. And Winston Churchill, I mentioned the other day, the end of the beginning. Yes, we can control the spread, and we can reduce the number of people who die, and our healthcare system can do phenomenal work and rise to the occasion and deal with this beast. It has not overwhelmed the healthcare system. We have controlled the spread. And there is confidence to be taken in that. And that's an accomplishment. And it was a heck of an accomplishment. Those healthcare workers, for the rest of my life, I will say nothing but thank you to them. And I was not sure that we could keep the tide from overwhelming our hospital capacity. And they did. Feel good about that. And I believe the worst is over if we continue to be smart. And I believe we can now start on the path to normalcy. And we can have a plan where you start to see some businesses reopening, understanding the delicate balance. I think there'll become a point where there's an announcement that we have a medical treatment, that you can get sick, but they found an antiviral medication that can help you treat the disease. So take another deep breath when we get to that point, because, okay, you get infected, but there's a drug regimen that can help you. And then you'll get to a point where they announce, we have a proven vaccine. That's when it's over. That's really when it's over. They have a vaccine, it's been tested, it's been proven, they can produce it, you're going to get a vaccine, this is a thing of the past, don't worry about it, close the chapter, move on. Okay, when do we get there? 12 months to 18 months. I can't believe you said 12 months to 18 months, as Cara said to me. It's 12 months to 18 months. When Dr. Fauci says how long until a vaccine, he says 12 months to 18 months. When the FDA is asked how long until you get a vaccine, they say 12 months to 18 months. That is the point. When you ask me, when can I do a deep breath for the first time in 5 weeks? When they say we have a vaccine. That's when it is over. But there will be points between now and then where we should feel more confident and we should feel better. Well, I want it to be over tomorrow. I get it. I want it to be over tomorrow. I want it to be over tomorrow more than you want it to be over tomorrow. But that's not reality. So let's calibrate our expectations. And in the meantime, stay the course, because we have accomplished a lot through heroic efforts of healthcare workers, police officers, transportation workers who showed up to drive those trains and buses every day. I mean, people just doing extraordinarily brave, generous, courageous things every day, literally putting their lives at risk for the public. And we have flattened that curve by people's actions, which, remember, is why those projection models were all wrong. The projection models were high. They weren't wrong. It's a bad word. What they were saying is this is where the infection will go if unabated. What's the question mark on whether or not you can abate it? Can you put forth a government policy? But more, will people listen to the government policy? You have 19 million people in New York. I could stand up here all day long and say, you must social distance, you must stay home. If New Yorkers don't believe it, if Americans don't believe it, if they question their government, if I don't have credibility, why do I stand here and go through all the facts? I'm not asking any New Yorker to take my word for anything. I'm not asking any American, take my word for it. Here are the facts. I'll give you the facts. The good facts, the bad facts, the ugly facts, you get all the facts. You tell me what you decide. They decided on the facts that they would comply. And they've done things I would have never dreamed that they would do. and they've actually made significant progress. Do not reverse the progress that we have made in our zeal to reopen and get back to normal. That's going to be the challenge going forward. But we'll do it because we are New York tough, and tough is not just tough. We know what tough is, but tough is also smart, and tough is also united, and tough is also disciplined. And tough, most importantly, is loving. Well, that sounds counterintuitive. They sound repugnant. No, 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 no. Toughest people are strong enough to say love. The toughest people, and that's New Yorkers. Questions?
What would have to happen for New York City schools to reopen? What would have to happen first?
Swabs to do tests. Is that something happening elsewhere in the state? Is there anything the state can help with?
We, on a daily basis, you're talking about medical equipment for hospitals?
Swabs, yes. The hospital officials say they're running out of swabs.
Yeah. I'll ask the Commissioner and Jim to comment specifically. But just so you know how this works, on a daily basis, every hospital does an inventory that they send to us that says what they have and what they need. And any hospital that is short, in urgent need, we provide them who say, I don't like this protocol, I don't like what the hospital is telling me to do. That's a different set of issues. Second caveat, you can have a hospital say, I only have a 3-day supply, and that makes me very nervous. I normally have a 2-month supply. Yes, I know that. Nobody has a 2-month supply of anything. Operating on that constrained timetable, that's where we are. But Jim?
After we received that question yesterday, we reached out to the hospitals in New York City. There was one, the Medicis network, that would like some new swabs. We are sending them 200 test kits today, so they'll have that, but they're not out. They just wanted some in the future. And to the governor's point, I was on the phone with about a dozen of the hospital systems today, and just what he said. People get a little nervous about running out of masks and things like that, but often they have like a 30-day supply or a 25-day supply, and we monitor that on a day-to-day basis with them. So as they need it, we'll send it to them.
And have you learned anything about why frontline healthcare workers are saying that they're being asked to ration PPE? Is that sort of along with the first caveat?
Yes, I mean, and I think Melissa spoke to that yesterday on the various protocols, and we're working very closely with the hospitals as well as the frontline workers to get them the needed supplies.
I'm sorry, Bernadette.
As you're talking about reopening the economy, but also specific to schools, what would have to happen first for schools to open, specifically in New York City, in regards to this plan that you're
They have to work together, Bernadette. I don't believe you can't open one system, it's the gears, which is an analogy and a metaphor that doesn't work for anyone except for me. But that's okay, because it works for me. You have 3 big gears, okay? You have transportation, you have economic, you have schools. Let's take just those 3. You want business, and the state boundaries mean very little to this virus. And somebody can get on Amtrak, or somebody can get in a car and go up the I-95 corridor, and it doesn't matter if they're from Delaware or New Jersey or Connecticut or New York or what state they're from, it can have the same consequence. So we're learning and we're growing every day. Thank you, John. And Governor Gina Raimondo from the state of Rhode Island. Governor Raimondo, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us. Thank you for working through all these issues with us on behalf of New York. Gina Raimondo.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Hi. Good afternoon, and thank you all. And thank you, Andrew, for leading us and convening this group. I think it's a terrific initiative. Like all of you, all the governors who've spoken, all of the governors I've been speaking with, I am constantly thinking about what it's going to take to safely reopen our economy. Like you, I don't want to keep people out of work one day longer than necessary. However, we need to do it safely, which means we need a smart, targeted approach to slowly reopen the economy in a way that keeps everybody, most especially the elderly, the vulnerable, and those with pre-existing conditions, safe. So, like many of you, I have a team here that I've assembled to develop a plan for what we are calling the new normal. And we're looking at everything from how we screen people entering businesses to how we utilize more touchless technologies in our day-to-day interactions, doing a deep dive industry by industry on new guidelines for this new normal. And I'm looking forward to this initiative. I'm looking forward to being a part of the working group and exchanging ideas. Like you have said, none of us has ever gone through this before, and I am confident that by working together and sharing our best ideas, we will be much, much more likely to get it right for the citizens of our state and this region. I will say, throughout the crisis, the governors are the ones who've been showing great leadership and taking action to keep our residents safe. And so I think it's only appropriate that we do the same thing now by coming together and showing regional leadership to reopen the economy. And as everyone has said, I think if we take a coordinated approach on a regional level, we'll be that much more successful. I know that over the past few weeks I've spoken frequently with the governors on this call, with the governor of Massachusetts, governors all around the country, and our ongoing collaboration, idea exchange, coordination has certainly enabled all of us to keep people safe in our states. The reality is this virus doesn't care about state borders, and our response shouldn't either. So I am fully in support of this effort and look forward to working with each of you to make sure that we do get to the business of getting folks back to work, and we do it in the smartest, safest way possible.
Thank you very much, Gina. Thank you, Governor Raimondo. And I couldn't agree more with all of my colleagues and Governor Raimondo's point. None of us have done this before. Sharing information, learning from each other, pooling resources is only smart, and we have to be smart. You need the best public health plan, and you need the best economic reactivation plan. It's not either or, it has to be both. No one is willing to sacrifice one at the expense of the other, and you can't have one at the expense of the other. But how you do it, that's the art form. We're going to take questions for one question each from each state, and then I'll take questions from New York afterwards. Governor of the state of New Jersey, Governor Murphy, is ready for any question from any reporter in the state of New Jersey.
Thank you. As a reminder, to ask a question, you will need to press star, then the number 1 on your telephone. Again, that's star 1 on your telephone. Please stand by while we compile the Q&A roster.
We will not allow the New York reporters to question any other governor. I would not subject my colleagues.
I believe it's, this is Phil Murphy, Andrew. I believe it's in our Constitution that that's not allowed.
That's right. State cooperation only goes so far. There have to be
It
some.
only goes so far. I'm actually going to do our own press conference at 3 p.m., so if there are Jersey folks on and they're not ready to ask, we'd be very happy to take them in Trenton in a half hour or so.
Operator, anything?
We do have a few questions. The first one is from Charles Kyle from North Jersey.
Hey, Charlie.
Your line is now open.
Good afternoon. Governor, you've made a point that the any plan that you devise will have to be on any economic plan will have to be on the back of a public health plan. Is that your way of, and is collectively this a way of saying to the Trump administration that we disagree with your emphasis of putting economy first, that we feel we most earnestly and strongly have to make that point that public health comes first, because you're not hearing that coming out of Washington.
Yeah, Charlie, I'd say it's good to hear from you, by the way. I'd say it's less that for me, and far more, let's just make the calls as we have tried to make them from day one based on the facts and the data and the science. And everything we're looking at tells us you only get an economic recovery if it comes on the back of a healthcare recovery. So our energies, and I think the council that we're forming today speaks exactly to that. In other words, the house is still on fire. We still have to put the fire out, but we do have to begin putting in place the pieces of the puzzle that we know we're going to need, both healthcare infrastructure to make sure this doesn't reignite, as well as the steps we're going to need to take collectively as a region in terms of economic recovery. So I'd put it much more in the category of calling balls and strikes based on the data that we're looking at. And again, I think if you get that wrong, you inadvertently, even with the greatest of intentions, if you transpose those steps, or if you jam it too early, you could throw gasoline, even inadvertently, on the fire, and it could reignite. And that's the last thing that any of us need right now. So as painful as the economic reality is right now, and it's painful for all of us, it's not remotely as painful as it would be if we get the sequencing wrong and or the timing wrong. Thank you all.
Well said, Governor. Thank you very much for being with us, Governor Murphy.
Honored to be with you, as always.
Thank you, my friend. Operator, State of Connecticut, Governor Ned Lamont. Do you have any questions from any reporters from Connecticut, Operator?
We do have a question from Connecticut. This line is from Ken Dixon. Your line is now open.
Hi, Governors. Thanks for getting together disembodied way like this. Governor Lamont, I guess I'm trying to figure out what kind of voice the business community is going to have as they're part of the panel that you've got, and I noticed the DECD is going to be in charge of that. But how are you guys all going to get together on a regional basis? It sounds like a rather crowded bus.
Well, what we are going to do, Ken, thanks for the question, is each have 3 people on this committee. And on behalf of the state of Connecticut, you talk about business representation. I've got a great friend who's co-chairperson of our economic committee here for the state, and her name is Indra Nui, who used to be head of Pepsi. So she'll be our liaison to the business community here in the state of Connecticut, and part of our liaison to all the other governors going forward. And she understands better than anybody how urgent it is that we get our economy going again, but there's nothing worse than a false start. And what that would do to confidence and what that would do to the sense of hope that Tom Wolf was talking about. And that's why we will be announcing our task force today in terms of how we go forward with business and labor and the scientific community in collaboration with our fellow governors so we can open this up prudently as quickly as possible.
Great.
Thanks, Governor.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor.
Thank
you,
you.
Ned Lamont, very much for being with us today. Operator, anything for the state of Pennsylvania? Thank you, Ned. Governor
We
Wolf.
have next for Mark Levy. Your line is now open.
Hey, Mark. Mark?
Hi, can you hear me, Governor?
I can. Hi, Mark.
Hi. So we were wondering that with the president saying that it's his responsibility to reopen the states and reopen the economies, we were wondering if the governors disagree with that this is inherently a responsibility of the governor.
Well, seeing as how we had the responsibility for closing the state down, I think we probably have the primary responsibility for opening it up. And that sort of, I think, gets to the question that I think Governor Murphy had, and that is between the business and health. And I think that's a false choice. I think this regional compact is premised on the idea that you're not going to have a healthy economy if you have an unhealthy population. So we've got to do both. We've got to get people healthy. The sequence is you got to get people healthy first, and then you can reopen the economy. Not until, or the economy's not going to work. I think what we're trying to do is we have tried, all of us governors working together have tried to have the hard stop that we need to make sure that we remain safe as we possibly can with this pandemic. And we're now ready to go into the next step, which is to start moving back to some sense of normal, the new normal, and do it as we have working together here in the region. So I don't think we're trying to say anything negative about anybody. We're simply saying it was our responsibility to steer our way through these uncharted waters, and it's our responsibility to figure out a way back.
Exactly right. Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you, Governor Wolf. We have, operator, do you have any questions for the state of Delaware? Governor John Carney?
For state of Delaware?
State of Delaware?
We don't have any questions from state of Delaware at the moment.
Lucky Governor John Carney.
Thank you very much, Governor Cuomo. It sounds like we don't have any questions down here. Must mean things are well in hand in the first state. But again, appreciate very much your leadership, both what you've been doing over the last several very difficult weeks with the experience there in New York City and your great state. We pray for you. We've been thinking about you. Thank you for concluding the state of Delaware in this council. Look forward to the good work.
Thank you, John. Thank you, my friend, very much. I wish my leadership in the state of New York was as good as yours, and I had no questions whatsoever about my decisions. Maybe you teach me a few lessons. Thanks for being with us, John. Governor Gina Raimondo, operator, you have any calls for state of Rhode Island?
We don't have any questions for state of Rhode Island. You may please continue.
Yep, another governor who shows me up. Good to be with you, Gina. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you, Andrew, for doing this and for all that you've been doing. And I appreciate the leadership, because this region is one of great economic activity, and I know we're going to have a better shot at getting it right working together. So I'll have my team on it, somebody from Commerce, somebody from Health, and my Chief of Staff, and we'll lean into this to make sure we all get it right. So thank you, and thank you all for being on the call.
Great. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Okay. I think, first, I thank the governors very much. We've been working together for a number of days. Obviously, we've been working all through this with many of the states on a daily basis. Again, nobody's been here before. Nobody has all the answers. If they say they do, they don't know the question, in my opinion. Addressing public health and addressing the economy, which is first, they're both first. You can't do one without the other. It's a false choice. To move the economy forward, you have to address public health. To address public health, you have to be addressing the economic reactivation. You have to do both at once. They're parallel tracks. That's why we have the head of economic development, the head of health, and then the governor's chief of staff from each state. So we have a total council of 18. We're still talking to other states. Any states who want to join are welcome to join. And again, it's a sharing of information, compare notes, compare experiences, sharing of university resources, scientific resources, and coming up with a plan that is consistent, if not complementary, one state to the other. And
the majority of vision rehabilitation professionals who teach clients how to use their remaining field of view are constantly asked to recommend the right book to explain eye diseases. Although there are several great books on the visual field available, none seem to meet the need and standard of vision rehabilitation professionals to satisfy their clients' needs. This book is therefore the prescription that encompasses the major topics of eye diseases in relation to low vision, orientation, mobility specialists, and vision therapy. This book answers all the questions about the anatomy, physiology, pathophysiology, pathology, treatment, prevention, and vision rehabilitation therapy of any abnormality of the eye. This book can serve as a companion text for not only vision rehabilitation professionals, but also all medical and blindness students along with their family members. This book is available in all formats regardless of sight impairment, text, ebook, and audiobook. It is also available in all online bookstores, inside the Eye Disease website, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and Zillibris. Manual for Child and Vision Development Milestones is a precious guide that discusses the physical, social, motor, cognitive, language, and emotional development that occurs from birth through early adulthood for children with and without vision. It also discusses the possible effects of maltreatment on child development. This book contains the most recent research theories and findings of child and vision development investigated by eye care specialists and psychologists. The manual also consistently relates information to real-life situations and demonstrates the usefulness of psychology in everyday life situations involving children. The content is designed to educate and guide a broad range of readers, including students, parents, child specialists, and doctors on developmental norms at different stages of a child's life. This book is available in all formats regardless of sight impairment, text, ebook, and audiobook. It is also available in all online bookstores, inside the Eye Disease website, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and Zillibris.
There comes a time when we hear a certain cough, when the world can't come together as one. There are people dying. It's time to wash our hands to prevent the worst disease right now. We can go on pretending day by day that someone somewhere will soon find a cure. We are all part of one great big quarantine, and you know, together we'll survive. We are the cure. We are the treatment. We are the cure if we stay at home and do not spread it. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. So please isolate yourself for you and me. Oh, stay in your house so this thing no go last long, and our lives we go back to normal. I know God can save us, oh, but we have to play our parts, and together we will all survive. We are the cure. We are the treatment. We are the cure if we stay at home and do not spread it. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. So please isolate yourself for you and me. Stay safe. There comes a time when we hear a certain cough, when the world can't come together as one. There are people dying. It's time to wash our hands to prevent the worst disease right now. We can go on pretending day by day that someone somewhere will soon find a cure. We are all part of one great big quarantine, and you know, Together we'll survive. We are the cure. We are the treatment. We are the cure if we stay at home and do not spread it. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. So please isolate yourself for you and me. Oh, stay in your house, so this thing no go last long, and our lives we go back to normal. I know God can save us, oh, but we have to play our parts, and together we will all survive. We are the cure. We are the treatment. We are the cure if we stay at home and do not spread it. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. So please isolate yourself for you and me. Stay safe.
Qui ça nous doit connaître sous coronavirus là? Lavez-nous à de l'eau avec savon pendant 20 secondes. Ou bien chanter Happy Birthday 2 fois. Lavez-nous souvent et très souvent. Les n'a toussé dans le coude nous. Éteignez dans un mouchoir et puis jetez. Désinfectez nous avec sanitizer. Pas bailler la main, ni pas embrasser pièce moun. Pas mettre main nous dans bouche nous, dans yeux nous, ak dans main nous. Restez connecté à PCVI Network pour plus d'informations sur coronavirus là ou COVID-19.
Téléphone c'est 516 238 50.
Qui ça nous doit connaître sous coronavirus là? Lavez-nous à de l'eau avec savon pendant 20 secondes. Ou bien chanter Happy Birthday 2 fois. Lavez-nous souvent et très souvent. Les n'a toussé dans le coude nous. Éteignez dans un mouchoir et puis jetez. Désinfectez nous avec sanitizer. Pas bailler la main, ni pas embrasser pièce moun. pa mette main nou nan bouche nou, nan zye nou, ak nan men nou. Rete connecté ak PCVI Network pour plus d'informations sur le coronavirus là ou COVID-19.
Téléphone nan c'est 516 238 50.
The majority of vision rehabilitation professionals who teach clients how to use their remaining field of view are constantly asked to recommend the right book to explain eye diseases. Although there are several great books on the visual field available, none seem to meet the need and standard of vision rehabilitation professionals to satisfy their clients' needs. This book is therefore the prescription that encompasses the major topics of eye diseases in relation to low vision, orientation, mobility specialists, and vision therapy. This book answers all the questions about the anatomy, physiology, pathophysiology, pathology, treatment, prevention, and vision rehabilitation therapy of any abnormality of the eye. This book can serve as a companion text for not only vision rehabilitation professionals, but also all medical and blindness students along with their family members. This book is available in all formats regardless of sight impairment, text, ebook, and audiobook. It is also available in all online bookstores, inside the Eye Disease website, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and Zilibris. Manual for Child and Vision Development Milestones is a precious guide that discusses the physical, social, motor, cognitive, language, and emotional development that occurs from birth through early adulthood for children with and without vision. It also discusses the possible effects of maltreatment on child development. This book contains the most recent research theories and findings of child and vision development investigated by eye care specialists and psychologists. The manual also consistently relates information to real-life situations and demonstrates the usefulness of psychology in everyday life situations involving children. The content is designed to educate and guide a broad range of readers, including students, parents, child specialists, and doctors on developmental norms at different stages of a child's life. This book is available in all formats regardless of sight impairment, text, ebook, and audiobook. It is also available in all online bookstores, inside the Eye Disease website, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and Zilibris.
Work. We had a total hodgepodge of decisions with different school districts opening and different school districts closing all across the state. I came in, set a statewide closing policy. That is the law. That is what governs. Local school districts say, well, I normally make the decisions to open or close. Yes, you normally do. Not in this situation because this is a state emergency. Well, you're disrespecting the county of Suffolk. I'm not. But we're one state, and we can't have every local government making independent decisions from every other local government. That would be mayhem. Second, you just heard the basic point, which is the state then has to coordinate with other states. So I have to be able to say to New Jersey and Connecticut and Delaware and Rhode Island, here's what I'm doing as a state. I can't have 7 different policies within my state. Here's my state policy, how do we conform? Then there's another question where the president's going to say, or could say, the query, I don't care what you say, Governor. I'm going to assert my jurisdiction over the state because this is a federal emergency. And the president could say, which is the query of the question, the federal government will determine what the states do. So I understand. I have mayors call me. I have county executives call me. I have school district officials call me. They all have an opinion. I value all of their opinion. But we have one state, and the state will operate as one. And their decisions must fit within that plan, or they're not valid. If the federal government comes and says they're going to substitute a federal plan, well, that would then trump a state plan, pardon the pun, if it fit within the Constitution and the law.
On the ventilator issue.
Go ahead, Nick. Nick had a question. Nick, I'm sorry, Nick had a question? Go ahead.
But can I have a follow-up?
Yeah, let me do the first round of questions first, okay?
But other people got a follow-up.
All right. Let Nick do a question, and then we'll come back. Go ahead.
Governor, on the ventilator issue, I know you returned some ventilators yesterday to a facility in Niskayuna. Knock on wood, right now, it looks like there is less of a need for ventilators. Do you think some will get returned to some of the other upstate institutions?
If, big I, big if we are at a plateau, and on the numbers that we've all seen, it looks like we're reaching a plateau, slight uptick still, right, day to day, but a flattening. We've done so much work and acquired so many materials and equipment, et cetera, that we are fine, knock Formica, if we don't go up. That's why we returned the 35 ventilators to the nursing home. Also because the nursing home was so, how beautiful. I mean, just how beautiful. They just gratuitously called up and volunteered 35 ventilators. Nobody even called them and asked. From a nursing home, which is the most vulnerable place and vulnerable population. So we returned the 35 ventilators. We are fine, so to speak, from an equipment point of view right now, if the number doesn't go up. And to the extent anyone, we borrowed ventilators from upstate New York, we can return them whenever they need them or as soon as practicable.
So what's the status?
But if they need them today, I can get them tomorrow.
What's the status of the ventilators that you ordered from China?
I'm sorry?
Should teachers and family members in New York City be ignored?
What happened to the ventilators?
Yes.
We ordered 17,000. I think we wound up getting about 3,000 that actually came in.
Are you still waiting for the others?
I think it would be waiting for a long, long time. I think what happened was there were so many places competing for the orders in China that they kept upping the price and they took a next order. Like we were bidding against every other state in the country. So they would say the ventilator is $25,000. I would order it at $25,000, and then another state would come in and say, I'll pay $30,000, and our order just basically got bumped. Some of the orders, the factories are saying we can get it to you in 6 months. I don't need ventilators in 6 months. We need them now. So we've gotten about 3,000. I don't think we have any serious ideas that we're going to get more. Do you know, guys? No, all different vendors.
What are the vendors?
These are all Chinese companies. I don't know their names. But that's what I said on Let's Learn from What Happened. What sense did it make that the FEMA says we don't do purchasing, which is, by the way, what they used to do, right? I was there. I worked with FEMA. I was the HUD secretary. They used to purchase. That's what they did. It's a federal disaster. FEMA came in and was the logistics coordinator. In this case, they said it's not a federal responsibility. It's up to the states. Every state had to go out and buy ventilators and PPE and masks. Lo and behold, the main manufacturer becomes China. So you have every state calling these Chinese companies literally through brokers trying to buy ventilators. Price goes through the roof. Everybody's competing with everyone. I mean, it was total madness. So this is why I say, you want to change the rules, that's your prerogative. But what are the rules? And do they make sense? For example, testing. States cannot test. I'm telling you right now, I do not have the capacity to do these tests. I can't purchase enough diagnostic tests or equipment. So an opening plan that says you must open, by the way, you must test, I can't do the tests.
Governor, you said this in Massachusetts or Canada about the working group or some kind of coordination.
We are not talking to Canada, I don't believe. We're talking to a number of states about who are coordinating on certain elements, not other elements, but this is a relatively new situation, today's coalition. So we'll continue talking. Anybody who wants to join in the Northeast is welcome. The more information you share, the smarter the plan, the better. Can't be bad.
Governor, just to clarify, this council will decide on both businesses and schools?
Head of economic development is on the council from each state, head health official from each state, and governor's chief of staff from each state. 3 people from each state, 6 states, 18 people, and it will be a public health strategy and an economic development strategy that fits like this. You can't do one without the other. You have to do both, and you have to integrate them in one plan. And I have to represent that I have one statewide plan for my state. My whole state will function that way. You want to divide it into downstate, mid-Hudson, upstate, by number of cases. That could be theoretically a suggestion from the commission, council. But yes, those will be the guidelines. And then it has to be smarter because you're just sharing talent, you're sharing resources. The best minds from 6 states are the better than best minds from just any one state, right, by definition. So it'll be smarter. It will also be cooperative and collaborative where if Jersey and Connecticut put forth a plan that is not coordinated with New York, it hurts our compliance. And remember, we're asking people to do very tough things. If you say, well, you can just go across the river and you have a different set of rules, then people will get in their car, they'll go stay with their brother-in-law who lives in New Jersey, or their brother-in-law who lives in Connecticut, and they have a different set of rules. His restaurants are open, our restaurants are closed. You know what happens? Everybody drives to that state to go to dinner. That's all that happens. It was the same point when we were talking about marijuana, right, and the rules on marijuana. If you don't conform those rules, people will just shop jurisdictions.
Doesn't that risk complicating the issue, though, with 6 different states, 6 different agendas, 6 different situations on the ground? Doesn't that make it more complicated in a way?
You don't have a choice but to coordinate. Because if another state, you are subject to whatever any surrounding state does anyway. My bars are closed. Okay, Connecticut's open. I'll go to a bar in Connecticut. I'll go to a bar in New Jersey.
Massachusetts is right here, 20 miles
Or
away.
I'll go to a bar in Massachusetts.
The coalition.
No, but we're talking to Massachusetts also. So by definition, if you do not take that fact into consideration, then you're just being blind to the facts. Well, I can't get on the same page 100% with another state. I don't expect you to. But to the extent you can avoid contradictory policies, that's better. And maybe you won't even be able to avoid contradictory policies. You know, Connecticut could say, I'm opening my bars. And I feel very strongly, and I'm sorry to be discordant, but I'm opening my bars. And New York doesn't want to open their bars, don't open your bars. But I'm opening my bars. All right, at least then we see the clash, and we're aware of it. And you try to work it out. If you can't work it out, you can't work it out. But at least you know about it and you have the conversation.
At what point would you consider reopening the Capitol building to the general public? Because certain groups like
like a citizen action or a local New York would consider this access essential for policy reasons and making change, I suppose.
Yeah, look, opening public facilities will be one of the issues that's on the agenda. But my guess is, again, we talked about this morning, density. You do not want a lot of people in a small space. That is the last thing you want, because that is the breeding ground for this virus. I mean, that is goldfish, shooting fish in a barrel, right? You put a lot of people in one room, all you need is one person. That's the New Rochelle lesson. One person went to a social gathering, religious gathering, infected hundreds at one gathering. All right. Thank you very much.
I have a follow-up question. Should teachers and families in New York City just be ignoring messages that they're going to keep doing distance learning and remain closed?
Schools are closed. Schools in New York City are closed. Schools in Nassau are closed. Schools in Westchester are closed. Schools in Suffolk are closed. Schools across the state are closed. Schools across the state will stay closed until we say they are open. They are closed until the state says they are open. They were closed by an executive order that said all school districts in the state are closed. They will remain closed until the state says they are open. The state waived what's called the 180-day requirement that said they had to be open for 180 days to get funding. We will waive that requirement as long as the state says they are closed. And that's where we are. Closing the schools was a hard decision because we knew once you close the schools that it would impact businesses and impact the workforce. And there was great fear that nurses wouldn't be able to go to work, et cetera, because now they had no child care. We reached a point where we said we understand that, but we closed all the schools. The situation now is very simple. All the schools are closed. Well, this school district wants to reopen. I know there are 700 school districts. There are 700 opinions. There's one state policy. Couldn't be clearer, couldn't be simpler. Thank you very much, guys.
Some teachers have reached out and said that you're equating the education system to daycare.
There comes a time when we hear a certain cough, when the world can't come together as one. There are people dying. It's time to wash our hands to prevent the worst disease right now. We can go on pretending day by day that someone somewhere will soon find a cure. We are all part of one great big quarantine, and you know, together we'll survive. We are the cure. We are the treatment. We are the cure if we stay at home and do not spread it. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. So please isolate yourself for you and me. Oh, stay in your house so this thing no go last long and our lives we go back to normal. I know God can save us, oh, but we have to play our parts, and together we will all survive. We are the cure. We are the treatment. We are the cure if we stay at home and do not spread it. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. So please isolate yourself for you and me. Stay safe.
The majority of vision rehabilitation professionals who teach clients how to use their remaining field of view are constantly asked to recommend the right book to explain eye diseases. Although there are several great books on the visual field available, none seem to meet the need and standard of vision rehabilitation professionals to satisfy their clients' needs. This book is therefore the prescription that encompasses the major topics of eye diseases in relation to low vision, orientation, mobility specialists, and vision therapy. This book answers all the questions about the anatomy, physiology, pathophysiology, pathology, treatment, prevention, and vision rehabilitation therapy of any abnormality of the eye. This book can serve as a companion text for not only vision rehabilitation professionals, but also all medical and blindness students along with their family members. This book is available in all formats regardless of sight impairment, text, ebook, and audiobook. It is also available in all online bookstores, inside the Eye Disease website, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and Zillibris. Manual for Child and Vision Development Milestones is a precious guide that discusses the physical, social, motor, cognitive, language, and emotional development that occurs from birth through early adulthood for children with and without vision. It also discusses the possible effects of maltreatment on child development. This book contains the most recent research theories and findings of child and vision development investigated by eye care specialists and psychologists. The manual also consistently relates information to real-life situations and demonstrates the usefulness of psychology in everyday life situations involving children. The content is designed to educate and guide a broad range of readers, including students, parents, child specialists, and doctors on developmental norms at different stages of a child's life. This book is available in all formats regardless of sight impairment, text, ebook, and audiobook. It is also available in all online bookstores, inside the Eye Disease website, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and Zillibris.
Ki sa nou dwe konen sou coronavirus la? Lave men nou ak dlo ak savon pendant 20 secondes. Ou bien chanter Happy Birthday 2 fois. Lave men nou souvent et très souvent. Len ap tousse dans coude nou. Éteignez dans un mouchoir et puis jetez. Désinfectez men nou ak sanitizer. Pas bay la main, ni pas embrasser pièce moun. Pas mette men nou dans bouche nou, dans yeux nou ak dans main nou. Restez connecté ak PCVI Network pour plus d'informations sur coronavirus là ou COVID-19.
Téléphone nan c'est 516 238 50.